Hello, and welcome to Verbally. I'm teacher Oakley, and for the next hour, we will be learning vocabulary, which is related to talking about disasters, man-made and natural. We will start with some basic nouns, words that actually describe these disasters, and then we'll move on looking at collocations and phrasings that we use when we're actually conversationally speaking about these things. As usual, students will take turns doing some exercises, mix and match, fill in the blank, etc. And as we go along doing the exercises, we'll have a little bit of discussion with the idea of clarifying the meaning of the vocabulary which we're learning. And by the way, the following hour after this class, we're going to be having a conversation class about disasters in which we can practice what we learn in this class. Okay, hello Heidi, how are you?
Nice to see you again. I found a very interesting video, so I sent it in the group chat.
Okay, yeah, I got it. What is it?
Do you like candle?
Well, kind of. I know a little bit about it, but
it's different from candle. We call it I forgot. Aikido. Yeah, Aikido.
Ah.
Related to candle, but a little different.
Okay.
Robot
Aikido.
Robot play the Aikido.
Okay.
Yeah, I like robots, so I found it. But
okay.
I like this video very much. I watched this video 3 or 4 times today.
Okay. All right, I'll check it out. I got it from you already. I already opened it in a window. I paused it. I'll be checking it out later. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Just have to say plenty of room in the class. If others would like to join us, please come on in anytime. All right. I guess we can get started. I'm going to do a screen share. And again, we're going to look at some very basic, straightforward nouns, which describe natural disasters. And then we'll move on to more complicated things, collocations and phrasings and such. All right. Basically a little mix and match here. Match the terminologies, the different words with the definition of what the disaster is. All right. Heidi, let's begin. Number one.
A long period with little or no rain, drought.
Okay. Yes, definitely drought. Becoming more and more common these days. Does Japan ever get drought?
Yeah, partially. Some places had sometimes summer season. Almost all places had rain in summertime. But do you know Setonaikai is inland sea, very close to Osaka, and opposite side is the island. Then between island and mainland, there's a sea, but it looks like river. That place is like Mediterranean Sea climate, very few rain. Have few rain, very warm.
Okay, I see. Yeah. There has been a drought here in the Philippines. There was a drought here a few years ago.
Really?
6 or 7 years ago. Yes, and the result was not really, it wasn't that they didn't have drinking water and they had agricultural water, but what ended up happening was they have so much hydroelectric power here that there were power outage, brownouts, rolling brownouts. So different areas would have no electricity for, I think, I can't remember if it was 4 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours or what, but anyway, so every day you would have no electricity for 4 hours, for
Before I
example.
watched the YouTube video, the Filipino discovered using a pet bottle for like lamp. Do you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Um,
Okay, interesting.
Fill the water in the pet bottle, and they make hole on the ceiling on the roof.
Oh yeah. Oh right. Yeah, I did see that. I saw a documentary about that. Very interesting.
Only daytime they can use that lamp.
Yeah, that's right. It's very interesting. Yeah, and furthermore, I mean, it started in the Philippines, but they brought this technology or
Yeah.
anti-technology. I don't know what you want to call it. Primatology. I have no idea. It's like caveman style or something. But they they actually had a program where they brought this idea to Africa, and they're kind of spreading it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
poor place.
yeah, interesting. Okay, anyway, let's move on with our disasters here. Number two.
A sudden violent movement of the surface of Earth caused by the shifting of the Earth tectonic plate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, difficult word. Earthquake.
Yeah, well, yes, tectonic plates, giant plates that bang together and push each other up and all that. Right. I don't have to ask about it. Does Japan have these? I know they do. Quite obvious. You know, recently there have been earthquakes. There's one in Taiwan. You know, when I start to see this Pacific Rim area, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, New Guinea, when I see one volcano, I'm sorry, one earthquake, I start to think, okay, well, here comes some more. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Heidi, but for example, now, recently there was an earthquake in Taiwan, then there was one in Papua New Guinea, then there was another one somewhere along the Pacific, the rim. When one happens, I get nervous because I start to think, oh, okay, things are moving. Yeah, anyway, there has been a string of them recently, so be mindful. You and me both. We're both on this Pacific Rim tectonic plate that pushes around. All right, Francisco has joined us. Hey there, Francisco.
Hi,
How are you?
teacher.
Hi.
I'm fine, you, teacher?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you today?
I'm fine, teacher. Thank you. Thanks for
Great.
asking.
Okay, our topic today is disasters. We're looking at natural disasters, basically mix and match with the definitions. Francisco, you want to try number 3?
Number 3, okay. When huge areas of woodland are alight, often caused by someone carelessly throwing a cigarette from a car. Well, that would be a forest fire.
Yeah, it would. And I don't know about often caused by a cigarette. I'm not too sure about that. It's often caused by lightning. It's a very natural occurrence. There was forest fires before there were humans. So anyway, whatever. Francisco, do you ever have forest fires down there in Mexico?
No, I have never seen a forest fire, teacher.
You have not. I have, up close and personal, where
Really?
well, it was probably a mile away, a couple kilometers away, but that's close enough. That's closer than you want to be, trust me.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, it's very scary because the sky is basically black in the middle of the day. You could see the sun through the clouds, but the sun, because of the clouds, was bright fire engine red, just a red circle in the sky. And there was debris, I can't say ash, but actual debris falling from the sky, some of which was actually burning. And you wouldn't believe, like, the size, branches, not just little tiny pieces of things, but like branches as big as your arm falling out of the sky, burning, because all that immense heat causes the air to rise and pushes things up in the air, and then it falls down, you know, in the path of the wind, which is where I
Yeah.
was, where I foolishly was.
Mhm.
Stupid person that I am. It was scary because things are falling down, burning all around you.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. Uh, all right, Heidi, number 4.
Number 4, when an area of land which is usually dry becomes covered in water, often forcing people to leave their homes and flood.
Of course, floods basically happen everywhere, as far as I know. Uh, yeah, very dangerous. Okay, all right, moving on. Francisco, number 5.
Okay, and very strong circular winds which suck things up into them.
Uh,
Uh, it could be a tornado.
I believe you're right. Yeah, the wind's very high speed. Have you ever been in a tornado, Francisco?
Oh, never. Just in movies, teacher, I have seen tornadoes.
Yeah, I have seen one very close. I'll tell you 3 things about a tornado that they don't tell you or that you would not know. Number 1, it is really freaking loud. Super loud. It's like having your head next to a train. It is really loud. Uh, Number 2, the wind does not blow. You think it's a tornado, the wind's going to blow in one direction and you're going to feel this amazing push of wind, but that's not what it's like. The wind is blowing every direction at once. Up your pant legs, in your ear, down your shirt, up, down, left, right. It's really strange. And 3, we see in the movies, Francisco, you see things like a car or a cow
Yeah,
flying up in
flying,
the
yeah.
air. Yeah. But think about it. If cows and cars are flying in the air, what about tiny little pieces of sand?
Yeah.
So when you're near a tornado, which I have been, there's tiny pieces of material flying again in every possible direction. It feels like you're being sandblasted. So you can't open your eyes because there's so much stuff flying around. So you're deaf. You can't hear anything. You're blind. You can't see anything. You're being struck in your body, so your sense of touch is useless because you're being hit every part of your body, even with clothes on. It's really weird because you have this sense of having it's no senses, sensory deprivation. You can't.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
pretty weird.
Yeah, it's weird. You can't see or hear or yeah, freaky. Okay, Heidi, number 6.
Number 6, a huge wave which builds up in the sea over 1,000 miles. A tidal wave,
Yeah, otherwise known as
tsunami.
yes. Which is a word, of course, we have adopted in English, but obviously very Japanese. Thank you for this word, Heidi. Or no thank you. I'm not sure.
I heard it came
be
from
appropriate?
China, tsunami.
Is that right?
Yeah, I heard so.
Oh, really?
But tsunami is
Ah.
directly Japanese. Maybe a little different pronunciation.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to, maybe I'll have to restudy that because I'm not sure. Okay, obviously I know that Japan probably more than any other country is affected by tsunamis. Have you ever like seen one or experienced one in any way, Heidi?
When I was a child, my family was living very close to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Then I heard that a tsunami is coming, but it's a very small tsunami. So we ran away to the higher place.
Uh-huh.
We are watching I could understand what is tsunami.
Okay. Well, that's more than I've never experienced one, thank goodness. And I would not want to. I can't imagine what that would be like. Okay. Moving on. Francisco, number 7.
Okay, number 7. A very powerful storm, often at sea.
Uh-huh.
It's a hurricane.
That's right. Okay. Francisco, what's the difference between a hurricane and a typhoon?
Maybe a hurricane is bigger.
No,
No?
that's not it. Okay. Basically, it's simple. Basically, they're exactly the same weather occurrence. They're exactly the same thing. However, a hurricane is in the Atlantic, which is why you experience hurricanes, and typhoons are in the Pacific, which is why Heidi and I experience typhoons. But essentially, they're the same thing. Growing up in the United States, living in the United States, I experienced a couple hurricanes, and I have experienced typhoons here in Asia. I have to say that they're, in my personal opinion, and I may be not completely right, I don't know, but my personal experience, hurricanes are windier, but typhoons are wetter. There seems to be just incredible amounts of water when a typhoon hits, but I don't know if that's really true. That's just
Okay, so they are the same thing, but only a
yeah.
different where they born.
That's it.
One of them burns in the Atlantic, another in the Pacific. So
That's
that's
it.
different. All right, I didn't know that.
Okay, well, we're here to learn.
Yeah, thank you.
Cyclone is to India.
And they frequently say cyclone in India, but you can equate. You're absolutely right. You can equate cyclone and typhoon, but you're absolutely right. They generally say cyclone in India, but it's basically Pacific born, so it's still on the same kind of yeah. Anyway, Heidi, Francisco would like to know if Godzilla is Japanese. Speaking of natural disasters.
Showcase.
Well, is Godzilla a natural disaster? I guess so. Really?
Yeah, movies.
Chupacabra is disaster.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
that's Mexican too.
There you go. Right.
Chupacabras.
There you go. Right back at you, Francisco. There you go. Okay, and last one here, Heidi. Number 8.
Large mountain which erupts from time to time and send rocks up into the air and
Molten. Sorry.
molten rock poured down the side.
Yeah.
Volcano.
It's a volcano. Yeah. But of course, it's really not. It's not likely you're going to get hit with a rock, and the molten rock doesn't. Sometimes it's very slow. Well, sometimes it's faster. But really, Heidi, what is the most dangerous thing about a volcano?
2 years ago, many people died. They were climbing on the mountain. That was not sleeping volcano, they say. But suddenly it erupted. Then people couldn't believe at first. Then they took a picture. Then finally they ran away. It's too late. Then many people got a rock or volcanic ash. Then they died.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And you bring up a good collocation. A dormant or inactive volcano is often called a sleeping volcano. That's right, as opposed to an active volcano. The volcano awakes. Ooh, Pulu awakes. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Okay. First of all, volcanoes have they have poisonous gas, which can kill you if you're close enough to it. And even if you're somewhat farther away, as you mentioned, the ash is actually the dangerous part. You just get buried. You can't breathe, and it just keeps coming down, and it buries things. Yeah. Okay, we're going to use some of these words in these sentences. Francisco, number 9.
Okay, Mount Vesuvius near Naples is one of the most famous volcanoes in the world.
Yeah, it is. Okay. You've got some volcanoes there in Mexico, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the last eruption in Mexico?
Well, it was near to Puebla.
Uh-huh.
It's one of the states here in Mexico. I don't remember the name of the volcano, but it's dangerous because it's near to the towns. Well, there are a lot of people around there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want a volcano in a populated area, that's for sure. Heidi, number 10.
Many parts of sub-Saharan Africa suffer from drought.
Yeah, that would seem to go together with sub-Saharan Africa. Drought. Absolutely. Yeah, well, now this statement is becoming kind of moot because droughts are happening all over the world faster and faster these days.
Yeah. Once
Yeah.
I visited Sahara, then there are very few of olive trees.
Mm.
And the olive trees leaves became like needle, very painful.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Francisco, number 11.
Many low-lying parts of England suffer from flood after prolonged. I don't
Prolonged.
know.
Just like
Prolonged.
long, prolonged.
Okay, after prolonged periods of rain in the winter.
Okay. Prolonged just means longer than normal.
Yeah, prolonged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Low-lying parts. Okay, just I want to draw your attention to this. In America, Americans frequently refer to low-lying areas as floodplains. And I know because I owned a house on a floodplain, so I know about this very personally and intimately. If you're, if you want to build a house or you have a house on a floodplain, your insurance will be a lot more expensive. You have to pay for that. So if you want to build a house, for example, right on the beach, on the ocean, or you want to build your house next to a river in America, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you money because, of course, much higher likelihood of flood damage. Yeah. Heidi, number 12.
San Francisco and Tokyo are both situated right in the middle of dangerous earthquake zones.
That's right. Okay, Heidi, do you know the word, or actually words, for like a what do you say? The line between two tectonic plates, or a crack. That
I don't know how to say in English.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
It's called a fault line. Fault line.
Fault line.
Yeah. So this is an area that's particularly prone to an earthquake because it's basically the line or the border between two opposing plates of Earth, right? And there are big ones, really big ones between tectonic plates, and then there are lots of different little cracks, basically. Yeah, and I'm reasonably sure the same thing is true in Japan, but the Philippines, if you actually Google a map of the fault lines, oh my God, it's like a spider web. There's so many. It's frightening. And California is the same way. California,
yeah,
all along the coast, there's just all of these fault lines. There's many, many, many.
there
Yeah,
are
it's
many
frightening.
studying about a prediction of earthquake. Recently, several professors announced we can't predict the earthquake because they always said Nankai Trough is very close to Osaka. It's very dangerous. They have been saying for over 60 years, I think. But before that, there are a lot of earthquakes.
Yeah, yeah, it's very problematic attempting to predict earthquake. They're very unpredictable. Like I was saying earlier, however, when I start to see earthquakes like on the Pacific Rim, I start to think, oh, there's going to be more. They're impossible to predict. Heidi, do you know how many earthquakes happen every single day?
Almost every day, somewhere in Japan.
In Japan alone, right. Think about the size of Japan compared to the size of the entire Earth.
Then government used a lot of budget to that study, but it's useless.
Yeah. I can't remember the number, but it's very impressive. It's like 100. There's like 100 earthquakes every single day on Earth. Of course, they're not violently city-destroying earthquakes. Some are very, very tiny.
I mean, every day, and we have magnitude of 3 or 4, but we don't feel any shock from that.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, do you know what the scale is called that we use to measure the strength?
Aside from magnitude.
Yeah, that's how we get the magnitude, right? It's called the Richter scale. Apparently some guy named Richter. I'm not really sure about that, but looks like somebody's name anyway. In any case, the Richter scale, right. So when you have a magnitude 3.2, you probably wouldn't even feel it, or maybe barely feel it if it was right under you. So when I say there's 100 earthquakes, there maybe 98 of them are less than 3.0 on the Richter scale. You wouldn't even feel it. But they happen every day all over the world.
Recently in Taiwan, they had a strong earthquake, but still it's 6.5, much lighter than Japanese earthquake. But
yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. Right, the scale it is a curve. So like, right, what you're saying, like a 7.5 is like twice as strong as a 6.5. So the curve kind of goes up at a really steep rate. So, something, when you compare whatever, a 7.0 and a 9.0, I don't even know if there's ever been a 9.0, but a 9.0 would be like 100 times worse than a 7.0. And a 4.0 would be twice as much as a 3.0. So the scale at which this Richter scale works, it's a curve, and you're absolutely right. So a 7 point something is much, much stronger than a 6 point something. That's right. All right, Sam has joined us. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Yes, hello, good morning. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Okay. Looks like I was wondering if you were actually getting connected there or not, or what. All right, looks like you're in. Great. Nice to see you. Okay, hang on a minute. I'll come right back to you. Francisco, I think it's your turn. Again, we're doing more matching. So, okay, we're going to look at a description of when one of these disasters happens, and then we'll. Which one is it? Francisco, number 1.
Okay, number 1. This year's crop has been lost. The land here is so dry now that farmers are unable to grow anything. All the water holes have dried up, and there are dead animals everywhere.
Okay. What disaster is this?
Drought.
Probably drought. Natural disaster. You know, when I read this, I start to think man-made disaster. Maybe there was contamination of the groundwater or something. Fracking. Somebody's been fracking. Okay,
Yeah.
You're right. It is drought. Is the correct answer. Sam, number 2.
Okay. The water level has been rising steadily since the river burst its banks this morning, and the area is now under 2 meters of water.
Okay. So what is this disaster?
Flood?
Yeah, clearly. Okay. Yeah, very dangerous. Well, okay, the river burst its banks. Okay, another disaster that happens, well, when I read this, I think about like when a dam bursts or something like that. Sam, what is another natural disaster that occurs with heavy rain, particularly in mountains or areas with steep geography,
Okay.
steep topography?
Because of rain, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know another kind of disaster that occurs?
Because of rain.
Yeah, with rain, especially in steep mountains,
Mm-hmm.
steep
A
areas.
steep mountain, we can say that pointed, steep,
Well,
or slip,
right.
or slippy.
A slip.
Slippy?
Yeah, well, not
No?
exactly. It's a mudslide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How we can say that? Slippy or what?
I'm not.
It's not
A
smooth.
slip.
Means it's smooth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you're trying to say. There's a word slippery. If you
Mm-hmm.
pour oil on the floor in your kitchen, it's gonna make it very slippery. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
smooth, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth. Yeah. You're using the word slip. Sometimes a mudslide is called a slip when an
Mm-hmm.
area of land slides down the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It is sometimes called a slip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Um,
I think because of the rain and in mountain, uh, we can say that um, mhm,
yeah, I lost you for a second there, but yeah.
mhm.
Anyway, yeah. Here, where I
Natural rain we normally saying about number one is flood because there are a lot of rain, and another one we can say that because of um, how explain this one. Um,
not sure.
mhm,
Not sure where you're going there.
mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
okay. All right. Anyway, okay. Time to move
Mountain
on.
rain we can say that, no? Sorry.
What's that? Go ahead.
Mountain rain because
Not
no.
really. Rain is rain, and rain causes floods, and in the mountains it causes mudslides.
Mhm,
It's common.
mhm,
Very common here in the Philippines. Basically every year people get
mhm.
killed in a mudslide. It
Mudslide.
happens.
Mhm.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Heidi, number 3.
Along the path of the twister cars were lifted hundreds of meters into the air. one caravan ended up half a mile from where it had been.
Okay.
Tornado.
Right. Tornado, often called a twister. Heidi, what is a tornado or twister when it's in the water? Like in the ocean?
Yes. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, what's the English?
Whirlpool.
No, that's something different. Interesting, though.
Mhm.
Okay, no, we'll talk about that. A waterspout is basically a waterspout, basically a tornado on the ocean. Usually these do not have as much energy as a land tornado, simply because there's the tornado, the system can't pull that much energy from the water, not as much as it can't pull as much heat from the water, not as much as it can from the land. So they're generally never as strong as they are on land. A whirlpool, however, is another natural phenomena. To be honest, I'm not even sure what causes it, but waterspout is in the sky. A whirlpool is in the water. The water spins around like in your toilet when you flush. Well, that's just the first thing I can think of. But basically, that's it. You know, it spins around and it sucks things down into it. Yeah. So, right. I'm not sure what causes a whirlpool, to be honest with you. I don't know.
The direction of whirlpool is different from northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere.
That's right. So when you flush your toilet in Australia, the water turns the other way. That's absolutely correct. You are right. Okay, so a waterspout over water. There's another associated vocabulary word here. Heidi, a very, very small tornado that you can see when it maybe spins across the parking lot or something. You see just pieces of paper and dust going up in a circle. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever seen this? Like a tiny tornado. Heidi, are you there?
Yes. Like plast or something.
Well, it's called a dust devil.
Mm-hmm.
Strange name, right? Dust devil. You might see this just as you're going out to your car in the parking lot. Suddenly you'll be able to see it because there'll be dust or sand and maybe paper or garbage, plastic bags or something spinning around in a little circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, we would chase that. We would see one and we'd chase it around, try to stand inside of it.
In a parking lot or some a little wide place.
Yeah, wide place, open area. That's right. Yes, that's it. Those little guys are called dust devils. Okay, Francisco, number 4.
Okay, lava poured down the side of the mountain, destroying everything in its path, and the village is now buried under a carpet of ash. Volcano.
Obviously, okay, a volcano. Volcano, a carpet of ash is a very common collocation, a construction. All right. Okay, carpet of ash, maybe a blanket of ash, just like snow. We tend to use a blanket of snow, not possibly a carpet of snow. We tend to use blanket for snow and carpet for ash, but they can be interchangeable as well. Sam, number 5.
Okay. The tremor measuring 6 on the Richter scale only lasted for 4 seconds, but it was enough to cause large cracks in several. So I think it's an earthquake.
I think you're right. Okay, Sam, when there's a tremor or an earthquake, what can you look forward to after? Besides destruction,
Mm-hmm.
what do you have to be aware of afterwards? That might happen. Usually happens.
Okay. Um, after measuring uh, how we say that on the Richter scale, and how I am looking forward. You mean that?
No, I mean when there's an earthquake. Ah, there's an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Is it over? Is
Mm-hmm.
it done?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not done. You're probably going to have aftershocks. Smaller, little, almost
Mm-hmm.
like an echo. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
hello, hello,
Mm-hmm.
hello.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's an earthquake. Kaboom, 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 kaboom.
Okay.
There are frequently more smaller earthquakes or what are called aftershocks. So
Aftershocks. Okay.
you
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful and still take care of yourself because it ain't over till it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it could still be very dangerous. So things that were made loose or dangerous in the earthquake, like the roof of a building or whatever, a sign, whatever, an
Mm-hmm.
aftershock may be enough to pull them down and injure you. So
Okay. Aftershock.
that's it.
Aftershock.
And it's one
Okay.
word. It's a
Mm-hmm.
compound word,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
aftershock.
Aftershock. Okay. And
Okay.
sometime because this I remember that very long time ago, at least maybe around 10 or 9 years ago, where I'm living right now here. Um, that was happen, or I can say that earthquake. So I remember that after earthquake, how many days the especially the earth, they
Hmm.
are not stable. I mean, uh,
Uh-huh.
they feel everyone that how they are not stable, not static. So after the earthquake, yes, and that was, but thanks God, because where I'm living, that was a very in a 2 or 3 scale, or that was measured. But other places that was has happened a lot of disasters. So,
Mm.
but I remember that that was how many days we feel this, how they were Earth is not it was not balancing until how many, yes,
Okay.
and we feel something that, and especially the cloud and the weather, each and everything, they were totally different than normal days.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's just very strange phenomena which I don't know that much about, but sometimes when there's an earthquake, you get weird weather as well. I'm not sure why that is. Does it have to do with um I don't really know, actually. I have no idea. Anything I say would be total conjecture. Anyway, Heidi, number 6.
Mhm. A small fishing village was water hit. A 30-meter wall of water swept up the beach, destroying nearly 30 houses along the sea front. Tidal wave.
Yeah, or tsunami. Uh, yeah, that's it. Of course, probably the worst one ever was really close to Christmas Day. Do you remember that? About, when was that? 10 years ago? 12 years ago? Really, really big one that happened in the Pacific, hit Indonesia,
Yes.
India, yeah,
Mm.
killed many, many people.
Thailand. Yeah.
Thailand hit really hard, yeah,
Yeah, I was
scary.
surprised that video, but later Japan had the same thing. It's bigger than that.
Yeah. Uh, okay, Francisco, number 7.
Okay, number 7. Helicopters are spraying the blaze from the air. And fire crews are working round the clock to set up fire breaks to prevent it spreading further. The forest fire.
Yes, indeed. Okay, a couple of terminologies here. Working round the clock. What does
Working
that
around
mean?
the clock. Well, maybe they are working 24 hours.
That's it. Very simple. A small point of English I want to bring up. This material is British. I know that because it says working round the clock. Just so you know, Americans, there are many expressions with round, phrasal verbs, idioms, colloquial expressions. In all of them, Americans say around with an A, working around the clock. I'll come around at 7 o'clock, meaning I'll visit you at 7 o'clock. Whatever. There are many, many, many examples. In all of them, the Brits tend to say round, and Americans say around.
Okay.
Okay, and Francisco, what is a fire break? What does that mean?
To set fire breaks to prevent it. Maybe they are setting fire usually.
Yeah, very good. That's right. One way to fight a fire, fight fire with fire. Oh, have you ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
All right. Fight fire with fire. It actually is real. I mean, it's an idiom meaning fight back in the same way that you are being attacked, but it is quite literal. You're totally correct. They'll burn off an area in front of the fire so there's no fuel, because the fire won't have anything to burn. Fire absolutely needs fuel, and it needs oxygen, and it needs heat. Well, the fire generates its own heat, and oxygen is in the air, so the only way to kill the fire in a forest fire is basically remove the fuel, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what a fire break is. Basically, they're fighting fire with fire. Sam, number 8.
Okay. Roofs were blown off buildings in winds gusting up to 120 miles per hour. Yes, I think it might be a tornado or something like that.
It
No?
it probably not, because tornado, and I'll tell you why, because I'm seeing gusting.
Mm-hmm.
The wind, okay, so the wind speed is not always the same. A tornado comes through and nobody really bothers to measure the wind because, first of all, how can you measure it? And secondly, it's in a very small area and it's
Okay.
really high, but
Okay. The other one is, I think, only hurricane.
probably a hurricane or, again, typhoon
Typhoon. Okay.
or cyclone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, hurricane we can measure, right? 120 miles per hour. It means
Yeah.
we already know that something is going to happen.
Yeah, you can be pretty sure if the
Yeah.
if the measured wind speeds are 120 miles per hour. Yeah, you can be fairly certain that something's going to happen. Do you know? Okay, I actually watched this on TV last weekend. There was a show about natural disasters. How fast does the wind have to be to knock you down as a human being? To knock you right off your feet? Can you guess?
No.
Well, it depends on your weight, obviously. So, obviously there's a big difference there. But basically, it is not anywhere near as much. Let me see. Heidi, do you have a guess? How fast does wind have to be where it can actually support your weight or knock you down?
I could not miles measure, so
That's fine.
30 meters per hour.
30 kilometers? Well, it's no, it's a little more. It's more than that.
No. 30 meters per second, maybe.
Oh, meters per second. I have no idea how fast that is in miles per hour. I can't do the math that fast. Francisco, what do you think? Do you have any guesses? How many miles per hour does the wind have to go?
Maybe 100 miles per hour or 150.
Well, most people would assume it would have to be something like that. But in fact, 40, 45 miles per hour, depending on your weight. If you're a really big person, maybe 50. If you're a child, 40 miles an hour will sweep you right off your feet and knock you down. For average person, 45 miles per hour is enough to knock you down. So it doesn't take that much. So when a hurricane is 100 and gusting, that means it's not steady. If it's gusting to 120 miles an hour, that's enough to pick you up and throw you. That's fast. Yeah, it surprised me. I was very surprised by this information. It doesn't take that much of a wind speed to push you down. And in this documentary I was watching, 45 miles an hour, it was a average height, average weight man, and he was standing up, but he was struggling. He'd get pushed to his knees, and he'd stand up, and he'd get pushed back 3 steps, and then he'd make a step forward, and then he'd fall down. So it's not like it literally blows you away, but he was extremely struggling to stand up at 45 miles an hour. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, we're going to look for some collocations and phrases that we've looked at previously in the lesson. See if we can fill in the blank here. Words that we use when we talk about these disasters. Sam, A.
Okay, the river. We use for phrases, right?
Well, it's going to have to be. Well, what kind of word does it have to be?
The river.
There's more than one possibility here. Not for word form.
Sorry. Maybe how we say that? Word form. Sorry.
Word form. It's okay. It's got to be a verb.
It's got to be verb. Okay.
We have a subject noun. We have an object noun. This has to be a verb.
Okay. The river.
Okay. Any guesses?
Yes, if it is a verb, the river. Come? No, the river.
No? See if we can get some help here. Heidi or Francisco?
Bounce or break?
Not break. Straightforwardly, burst. Yeah, earlier in the lesson we saw burst. It's banks. We can use that. Also, very straightforward. Overflow. When anything water is more than can be held, it overflows. So you could easily also use the river overflowed. It's banks. Heidi, how about B?
The tremor only keeps or continues for 4 seconds.
Yeah, since it's clearly measured in time, it has to be past tense. Yeah.
Kept or continued.
Okay, could be continued, yes. If you're going to use kept, you could do that, but you have to modify it slightly. Only kept going for 5 seconds. We can use keep going to, and in conjunction with the time frame, to indicate how long something happened. Yeah, he kept going for 20 hours, whatever, trying to set the world record. He kept going for 20 hours, something like that. Yes, that's possible. But another way to do it is lasted. The tremor only lasted. is probably the most common way to do it. Something lasts. My ice cream cone lasts for 5 minutes, whatever. So, we wouldn't say my ice cream cone kept going because the subject would have to be a person to keep going. Well, no, it doesn't. You could, I'm sorry, but my ice cream cone, I can't use kept going because it's not doing anything. I am doing it. I am eating the ice cream cone. But I can say the ice cream cone lasted for 5 minutes. Francisco, C.
The lava destroyed everything in its path.
Excellent. Yes, everything in its path, which, by the way, we would use for lava. You might use for a mudslide, anything that's moving, a flood where the river burst its banks, a tornado destroys everything in its path. This is a very common phrasing to talk about these disasters that move along a path. Oh, any of them, really? Okay, a hurricane, forest fire, yeah. Sam, letter D.
Okay. Fire crews. I don't know what does it mean that crews.
A crew is a group of people that is for a specific purpose. So a fire crew would be a group of firefighters.
Okay. Group of firefighter. Okay. I think that they try to how we say that word we use.
Yeah.
If
Well, we're looking for.
Yes. Blown off.
No. It has nothing to do with that. The concept here is they're working all the time. One way to say it: fire crews are working 24/7.
Oh.
Which means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there's another phrase that we saw earlier in the lesson.
Okay, it means the same as like what we said. Working round the clock.
That's it, working around the clock.
Yes, working around. Yes, I get it.
Exactly. Okay, by the way, crews, you can have a work crew. We sent a work crew out to dig a ditch on Maple Street today. A crew is any group of people which is assembled for some specific purpose. Work crew is common. All right, Heidi, E.
Buildings had their roofs blown off.
Blown off. You could also say blown away.
Blown away.
Either one equally useful here.
Ripped out or something.
Ripped off. Yeah, you could say that. Ripped off or ripped away. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that would be very common and very, very useful here as well. Maybe even better because it has the rip is very violent. All right, Francisco.
Trees.
Here it is.
Trees were ripped out by their roots.
Well, there you go. There's ripped. All right, ripped out. Now notice out because the roots are coming out of the ground. So yeah, off because the roof is coming off the house. Right, ripped out by their roots. Scary. Okay, we're about out of time. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and we'll just have general conversation and discussion about disasters in general. All right, see ya. Thanks a lot, guys.